Howdy, howdy. How you doing, mate? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? No? Can you hear me now? Hello, hello. Hello. How you going, mate? It's been a minute. Yeah, the joys of school, mate. The joys of school. The joys of school. Oh. It's been a challenge to say the least, but how about you, Lars? Hope all is good, mate. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending where you are. It's evening here. Evening. Oh, yep. Nice, nice, nice. Daz in the house too, so we got some Aussies representing. You beauty. Let's go. I reckon we can just about get cracking. Let's get cracking. Let me just quickly remove that. Where is it? I think if I do that, close window, you should now be able to see my screen. Alrighty, alrighty. It's been a pretty quiet weekend for me in terms of trading. There was a whole bunch of trades that I wanted to enter. I don't know about you guys, but when market is so indecisive, I tend to kind of take a bit of a step back and have a look at what the market does decide to give us effectively. And for me personally, I saw obviously a short opportunity which we called. We didn't quite get up there. We ended up rejecting, and then just earlier today in a Bitcoin, we managed to. Oh, I hope some of you guys did to catch this literally sniper trade. And I thought I'd just go over it just so that we can see a bit of a logic as to why I called it and why sometimes it's so hard to take the trades right there and then, unless you're on Discord. As the moment we called them, sometimes you might miss the perfect entry, right? So at a macro level, we obviously had Bitcoin do the big retrace, and we can see here broke this massive trend line, came all the way down here, didn't quite hit our buy limit, which would have been a beautiful buy, but didn't quite get there. It literally just got front run, and the giveaway was probably this higher low. So the moment he did this lower low and started pushing on a higher low, that was the giveaway. And we could have potentially looked at re-entry, but I just wanted to see how the market was playing. The moment we broke this high, that was a confirmation for me that we were going to go higher. So all it was basically from the hourly structure that like we just looked at, just broke structure, I just pinned it down onto the 15 minutes and I did some fibs. Pretty simple stuff. So the first fib was from the bottom to obviously the recent top, which was here. And we can see that 50% 618 area was falling into this candle right here. And then I did a second fib from the most recent 50-minute structure, which was from these lows. You can see market came up, then came down, stalled, created liquidity down here. So that was for me a valid structural point from where I can anchor my fibs. And again, low to high. And if you pay attention, you can see that there's quite a lot of cluster fibs. That was 618 and 50% that happened there. So when I see those fib clusters, I usually highlight them in yellow. And because we had this big push down, which was obviously an institutional move where we basically just came, liquidated this range, I guess, 50 minutes or 5 minutes and 1 minute. There was liquidity here, and then we proceeded to display, so basically just making a really big move on the opposite direction, leaving some imbalances behind. That was a really clear entry there for me, and on the 1 minute, it was just a matter of really just finding that sweet spot, which presented itself in this little order block right here. So that's how I found that entry there. And I was a little bit late, so I actually set it up here, and by the time I took it on Jupiter, I think I got it somewhere here. So that was a nice trade. Obviously, we TP1, TP2, and TP3, and unfortunately, we just missed TP4 by a smidge, but that was a nice 3.6. I think, not I think, I hope by now you guys know that whenever we hit TP1, TP2, we trail our stop losses. So I'm out of this trade. I'm not in this trade anymore. I believe now we'll see probably a bit of a flush. The next 15 minutes, we'll see what this candle gives us. We might retest. Yeah, it's looks 8 minutes left, so looks like we'll break some structure and potentially head lower. But many alts at the moment are not looking too rosy, and I think potentially a lot of it, not potentially, I do think that a lot of it's got to do with obviously the Bitcoin dominance. We talked about it the other week. Is the Bitcoin dominance going to do a repeat where we basically come up a little bit and then go higher? I do think it's the case. The retracement was nowhere near as deep as I anticipated it. You can see this was my kind of like my prediction that was going to take this out. What I do think is actually happened or happening is this, and you can see this is kind of starting to make sense now, where this was the last big push, fake out, higher, and then proceeded to go higher, and this is a similar move where we had a fake out, sorry, effectively liquidation or fake out, and then I think we're going to push higher. And this is obviously, hopefully, it, in the sense that once we get to the high 60, potentially even 70s, then we'll get ready for what I think is going to be a very short but violent and brutal in terms of explosiveness alt rally. So we'll see, I think, a very brutal drop. Like, you can see how slowly the Bitcoin dominance takes to go up, and just how quickly it just drops, and just like in a matter of days. And I've had a few clients as well. They're just saying, "Oh, am I gonna miss out?" Look, we're not gonna miss out. This is days, of course, of dropping. But if you're planning on catch the bottom or the tops, well, good luck. I think Greeny said it best today when he said that's not what you should be aiming to do. But it's a good to have an idea. So Bitcoin dominance, I do see it going up again. Personally, I think once we obviously clear this structural high, it will be the pivotal point for me to kind of decide if this is it. But looks like it's pushing up already. This 1, 2, 3 daily candles just got gobbled up by just a one engulfing, and then obviously now we're proceeding to go higher. So I am expecting, with this bias in mind, of course, to see the likes of ETHBTC, which is obviously the dominance of Ethereum against BTC, to drop. This was a chart that I had marked up basically before I look at any alts rallying. I want to see Ethereum, Bitcoin breaking some serious structure, which we thought, everyone, or at least I thought, this could have been it. But obviously now we're retracing down. So really the move itself could look something like this. This is going to be a little bit ugly until I put it something like this. I think we're going to go lower. And then once we retest, whatever that might be, that's when probably be looking at some of the alts again to really deploy probably the last capital of this bull cycle. I think we are nearing the bull. We're not there yet, so I'm not calling doom and despair like some people are on X or Twitter, which is kind of funny. They're saying, oh, Bitcoin is going to go back to 65. Yeah, Bitcoin will go back to 65 because that's just how Bitcoin works. It goes up and it goes down. But ultimately, the target is still well above 200K in the long term. So I don't think we are, we shouldn't be too doom and gloom just yet. So, but yeah, I do think ultimately the fractal that we looked at ages ago was this, which is basically kind of a repeat. Obviously, market never repeats itself, but like to rhyme. So you can see big top, big retracement down, eventually all-time high, and then obviously bear market. I do think this is eventuating right now. We obviously had the major expansion already, you know, when we went from 49 to 105, or where we are now. Then we retraced all the way back down to 75, and now we made all-time high at 105. So I do think we are very close, nearing this kind of second high, and I'm not saying we're not going to go higher. I do think, you know, potentially we could see a 120, 125 Bitcoin easily in the coming days, weeks, but I am also starting to allocate some, or come up with, you know, I've got a business plan, which all of us should do when it comes to trading, and that's my exit strategy. So now I'm looking at how to exit. This is also a very interesting time here, where the timeline of FIB, basically from every cycle and from the last cycle to the next one, is now falling on a 2618 in June, 23rd of June. I had it marked down. So we are coming to some really nice confluences as to what potentially might be a top, or roughly thereabouts. So this month is going to be an interesting one, I think. We shall see though. So for now in Bitcoin, I obviously don't see any other setup aside from the one that we took today. So this one we can officially delete it. It was a nice, beautiful snipe. And next, what I do want to see, and I'm waiting for in Bitcoin, is going to be a short. I do think we're going to go back up here in this 4-hour order block, and I'll show you in a second so we don't confuse. So I had a couple of people say, oh, you're short, or your long is still on the screen. Am I still taking it? No, we're not. So for recording purposes, here it is. This is going to be probably the level that I would like to short from. Ideally, I don't know if we're going to get back there anytime, you know, maybe this week. This week potentially could be very much one of those moves where we go up, we chop down, we chop up, we chop down, we chop up, and then eventually we chop that down. And even this TP is a bit ambitious, I think. The direction is still very much unclear. Ultimately, what we do need to see for BTC, which is obviously the gauge of the market, is these lows. We're on a 4-hour here, but this low is taken out. This is my kind of like structure, and it could potentially, one could argue that we might be making some sort of head and shoulders here potentially to come and retrace all these ugly imbalances down here. It's a very extended head and shoulder if that's the case, which is fine. They don't have to be perfect, but this could be the neck potentially, kinda like a diagonal neck. We'll see. But short of it is, I will attempt a 4-hour short when we get up there, which is also a nice confluence with fibs. Obviously, we saw. I do personally like to trade with fibs. The only issue that I have with this area, which is why I haven't called it out yet as of official, is it kind of falls in the middle of no man's land. Like, it's 786 is higher, the 618 is lower. Yes, it's a beautiful candle, but unless you take the fib from this area, in which case, you know, the 786 and the 86 falls perfectly. We'll see. When we get up there, we'll have to have a look at shorter time frame or smaller time frame, because this is effectively one move on the 1 hour. So it's not the clearest just yet, but it's definitely an area of interest, and also big fair value gap there that we can see, obviously, right there. So we can just highlight it and get back to it. So we shall see. Yeah, Bitcoin is now breaking down. So it's interesting actually as we talk, because it is forming this kind of liquidity, which is pretty clear there. It'd be interesting to see if it comes and grabs it, or if it does a retail move and bounces off it, potentially even off this 1 hour right here. This could be a risky move, but I do like that 1 hour, because it's got, you can see here, it's got all these equal lows, 1, 2, 3 down here. So that could be potentially what Bitcoin is preparing to do. Just come down, grab this liquidity, something like this. Let me just get rid of this, move this out of the way. obviously we would have to confirm on a lower time frame that we do see some sort of breakout structure. But this could be a potential 1 to 3.5 potentially. Yeah, I do like that 15 minutes candle too. This is obviously being tested and looks, I think it's going to get taken out. It could reverse from here but we have broken structure, and I think we're going to retrace in a lower fib level from here. And if you pay attention, this candle is right in between, which is really, I think it's a 30 minutes candle. Yeah, 30 minutes candle right there. I do actually like those two candles together, so they're hourly. So yeah, I think this could be and keep the risk super tight, like I'm talking there, because if we are getting validated 2020, sorry, I just saw your message in the chat. Yeah, because I've compared those two, and structure 2021 double top to now towards the upside on the second move is quite different. Yeah, they are slightly different, of course. Yeah, and the market does, you know, it likes to rhyme, but doesn't have to do it the exact same. But I wouldn't mind attempting this potential long on BTC, which will clear out that liquidity trend line that we obviously formed. Comes out, takes out these equal lows. The risk is we go lower and we head into this. So that's the risk. So if you are watching this live and you want to take it, just be mindful that this could be an entry 1 or setup 1, and setup 2 potentially could be somewhere down here. It gives you, they're both a 1 to 4, over 1 to 4. This is almost a 1 to 5, and this one is a 1 to 4.2. So potentially, I don't necessarily hate it, but yeah, I actually might take it. Well, we'll see if I remember after the live. After the live. So there you go, live setup right there. Let's have a look at ETH. ETH has been copying so much hate, but look at this structure. Like, come on. Who can tell me in the chat, what is this? What do we call this? Sideways move. What do we call it? In the chat. Get me something. What do we call it? That's it. Consolidation. Now, basically, we're just creating liquidity. We're creating liquidity upside. We created liquidity downside. And you can see here what happens. Usually we create liquidity. We move sideways for a while, and then boom, explosive move. And the explosive move can be up or down, right? Like this is the same. We create a liquidity here, you know, equal highs, equal lows, and then boom, explosive move down. So we are getting ready for a big move on ETH. Obviously, the imbalances in the left behind are quite substantial. We can see them here in this daily candles, 3 daily candles right here. I do think we'll see a retracement. You know, if you do play the Elliott waves, another 69, we had a chat. You know, this could be a 3, and this could be a 4 forming, potentially for a 5, or this could be a 3, very ugly because it's not big enough, and this could be a 5. But the short of it is, I think there is still a bit more downside for ETH, at least to fill these imbalances. That's what it would just make sense, which would also make the market more efficient and ready to potentially go for the last run of this season, which hopefully sees us clearing those equal highs at the all-time high 4,200 right there, which we can see there's a lot of liquidity up there. Obviously, that would be very much a target. So it would be nice to see some sort of move. And now don't take this parameters, because this is just for visual purposes only. But if we were to retrace somewhere there using this, for example, point of liquidity, which we can see it's kind of like, it's a nice level of liquidity. There's a lot of down wicks coming down there, and this is kind of, you can call it a support resistant if you like, but it's really just liquidity pools and something like that. You know, this would be a nice, a very nice portfolio swing too, from 2000. If we go back down there to 4000, it's a 2x, and it's a nice, you know, it's a nice move. So something like this, I wouldn't mind having a bit of a look when time comes. But yeah, ETH, I think we are still going to go down, which makes perfect sense. Like we just looked at, obviously, Bitcoin dominance potentially gearing up to go higher, which means alts, including ETH, likely are going to suffer and bleed a little bit And you can see between the two, ETH has actually managed to kind of keep itself up a bit better, whereas Solana is really starting to fade down a bit. We obviously broke this channel of structure right here. Channel of support, resistance, or consolidation, and we're obviously now breaking down, and I think we will come back and potentially retest this level and this level as well. So for Sol, I think the pain is not over just yet. We did clear major liquidity down here, which is good in terms of potentially not having to go as low, but I do think potentially we will see some sort of retracement down into mid 100s, low 100s, so 110, even low 90s potentially. So sub 100 will be a kind of a gift for Sol if it gets back down there. But basically from 115 to 104, I think it's a sweet spot for looking for longs again, at least on leverage. Anyway, definitely don't recommend doing any leverage play right now unless you're looking for shorts. And we did talk, I don't know if you remember, guys and girls, we did talk about this massive candle for Solana and for many alts being the decider. We said, you know, I think we were somewhere down here, this is going to be where the market really is going to have to make a big decision. AVAX had this candle, XRP had these candles, and you can see this, the market really spoke in the sense that we closed, just above, but we didn't manage to clear these highs with intent and with strength, and instead we're obviously starting to reverse. So this is going to be a really, really, really vital point moving forward for pretty much all alts. And if you do backtest, you can see this candle, it's in many different alts. So I always do this, and then I just have my selling pressure right there, which is obviously this is going to be a very important level for pretty much, like I said, all the alts. So we'll see when we get back up there. That's right, impulse correction and impulse is what we like to see. XRP, we did have a long. I am probably, if you are in a long and you're listening live, I say just obviously move stop loss at break even now, but I'll be quite confidently say happy to close it in profit as well. I do think we're going to go lower. Obviously, market is flashing. The direction is quite clear on Bitcoin, and I think we do see potentially a retest of this candle right here on the daily and clear these lows. So if you are in XRP long that we enter off this candle, we bounced off a little bit, we're in profit. Now I think we will very much clear those lows. So instead of just waiting to get stopped at break even, I'd rather secure a little bit of profit and and just wait for a better setup to eventuate. So XRP are probably close off. Let's have a look on the smaller time frame. Yeah, it's really struggling to make any highs. You can see this was the decider when basically we went down, break a structure here, failed to make new highs. We are printing higher lows here, but then we failed to print a higher high. So this was basically the decider. Instead of doing a higher high and potentially do some sort of harmonic, which would have given us potentially a continuation on the upside, we are printing lower highs. So not looking good for this setup. I would confidently say close it and and secure some profits. But the entry was quite nice off that. Obviously, you can see off that candle right there, which ended up being tagged beautifully. So it was a nice entry. Good to see that we still have the direction correct for entries. Obviously, market does what market needs to do. And similarly to our XRP, I'll probably say close as well, but you should have already have your stop loss at break even, because with Link we actually hit take profit 1, which was nice. And in case you don't remember the rules are once we hit take profit 1, we move our stop loss to break even. That's why it's important that we secure profit. Great example, case in point, was obviously the minute trade that we did with Bitcoin just earlier. We hit TP1, TP2, TP3, and then you just retrace all the way back down to entry. So we don't want to see that. There's no reason why a winning trade should turn into a break even or even a loss potentially. So get into the habit of securing profit at take profit 1 and obviously take profit 2, 3, 4, however many we have. But similar to XRP, I do see Link obviously now flashing and potentially going lower. And Link, I had this harmonic, this Elliott wave. Again, speaking about Elliott waves, you can see for me this was a 5-wave impulse. We had a first, second, and third, very ugly, not very strong, but the fourth barely touched the one. So I do consider this valid. And then obviously a 5. And I figured that this was an ABC correction, which it did. It came down all the way down here. Now, does it stop here? Or does it continue lower? That's the real question. So obviously low at $13.21 is still intact and ready for picking. So that will probably be the first target, and potentially even lower. And Link is one of those alts that if it does retrace into some juicy areas such as $11 or sub 12, really, I will be very inclined to add again to my portfolio. It is obviously solid project, unless you had some really good entries at 5s. These are not bad areas to play a potential, 2x, a very simple extension, fib extension of this low to this high will take us into the 22, which will be almost a 2x. If you enter at 12, it's almost a 2x, and the next big target falls exactly at the all-time high, which is the 1618, which you can see at $30. So I do still think that there is upside for this obviously major project. It's not a small cap, it's a major cap. But yeah, look, keep an eye out on Link for portfolio. The call is likely going to come from me anyway, the ping. But for leverage, once again, if you are live and you are still in this trade, please do move your stop loss at break even, because I reckon we'll get tagged very soon. This is one that I didn't have called. Oh no, this one I did have called out. Yeah, I called it earlier. That's right. Yes, that's why it's here. We called FARTCOIN, and the reason why we called FARTCOIN, and I know that it was Apom on the chat was saying I've been reluctant to do anything with this coin because of its strength, and I absolutely agree, right? Like when you see this kind of strength, this is on a daily. This kind of strength is just ridiculous. You just kind of want to see the sign of, okay, the strength is potentially starting to wear out, and we did have that sign, and the sign was right here. So let me do it. So obviously high, 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 higher low, higher high, lower low. So this was the breaker structure that we were looking for, right? So that breaker structure was for us basically the momentum has shifted. We have broken the structure. We have started to print in some lower lows, and why I said, ideally I would have liked a better entry up here, but I ended up calling it live at this level, is because there was a lot of a lot of imbalances. As you can see, everything has been pretty mitigated on higher time frame. And on the 4 hour, there wasn't really a whole lot for me to go for. The only other level that I was looking for was this kind of order block here. But once again, very little imbalances for me left behind there. Everything has been mitigated. You can see wick comes back, fills that. So that's an efficient market, meaning there's probably not a lot of reasons for large players to come back to those levels because orders have already been mitigated, right? So order... for me, that was very much okay, cool. We get to this level, we see how the market reacts, we scale down. I think I called it after 5 minutes. I can't remember. It's on the Discord if you go. And basically, as soon as we saw, failed to make a higher high and started to shift down, that for me, that was basically a current market price. And yeah, it looks like it's I hope. Are you guys in this? Anyone in the chat? Are you into the FARTCOIN short? Yay! Somebody's in. Somebody's making money with us. I like that. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, it just makes sense, right? Like, and you can see so much confluence is exactly sexy. So much confluence, and I think we all trade in our own way, and it's quite clear that some people like to trade with indicators, and you probably saw like there was no indicators here that I personally use, and I'm sure Sexy didn't either. It was basically just structure telling us the story. The moment The moment we see a shift in in the energy, that's when we look for the setup, and that's why we just simply scale down and find some imbalances or points of interest, right? So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And to be perfectly honest, since you are here and live, I do see a potential TP1 just about here on this imbalances. So we're very close to a TP there, with the next one obviously being here. And the next one, so TP, then you can say the next one is probably the 50%, which is in that one, just above. And then obviously the last one is down there. So these are probably the TP levels. You can say TP1 and now, if you're watching this, pretty much we're just a few cents away. And then the next one is at $1, and then the next one at 94 cents. So, and then obviously the last is 84 cents. So four TPs on this trade, and the reason why also we are starting to take a little bit more TPs as the usual. Usually we go 2 or 3, right? But in this kind of market where it's so indecisive and it's so up and down, we want to secure the profits. We want to give the market the opportunity to give us some profit, and we don't want to be greedy and leave anything on the table. So secure those profits, and yeah, and just be thankful, right? Like it's good. We're printing, so great FARTCOIN setup. So I am happy with that. You heard the take profit currently live, and let's have a look at Etsy. I don't know if you guys remember, we called this ages ago. What was that? No, I wouldn't have called it that a while back. Oh, maybe I did. Yeah, because I usually put my oh yeah, that was still in black and white. Yeah, because this is where I put my longs, where basically I called the trades, right? So that was called back in September. Yeah, I called it ages ago, because I can see I don't use these colors anymore. So this was the reasoning, right? This was the reasoning. Big expansion. This was the COVID candle, which obviously clear out all that liquidity, and we were starting to trade very close to that COVID candle. And would you look at that? Basically, we tapped it and we just basically bounced right off. So I hope some of you guys enter into the Etsy trade, because in just a matter of a few weeks we're up, I think 25% or thereabouts. So good trade there. And obviously with stocks, we're not we've gone from a 1 minute BTC setup, which is scalping, to now obviously long swings in stocks. And another stock that I am looking to go for round 2, and I say round 2 because a while back in GTG we call this awesome run, and that was on an option trade, which we were obviously very happy because that printed. I think now we will see some sort of retrace back for RIVN. So RIVN Automotive, of course. We have officially attempted to break out on the weekly above this level, but you can see, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. If you're watching this on a phone, you'll be like, Aussie, I can't see, mate. What are you doing? All right, here we go. You can see here we have officially attempted to close above, but we failed. Instead, we wicked, obviously grabbed liquidity, and we now engulfing back down into this weekly candle, which we'll see as potentially, I think, coming into this area and or even lower. Usually when you see this kind of harmonic forming, I like to have a 50% retracement, which is roughly there. So yeah, this area right here, but we could potentially go as low as $11, in which case I would be gladly adding to my stock portfolio. So I'll probably, if I was to play an option and a stock portfolio play, I would say wait for obviously the lower entry for an option. It does pay, or used to anyway. I'll have to check now how much it pays, but it did pay nicely. Hopefully it still pays nicely. And then obviously here, from basically from $13 down, we can start DCIing for portfolio in in stock. Last of the stocks is Intel. Once again, called in obviously GTG, obviously in the stock channel, and we had this DCA zone here. I did like this big sweep of liquidity that happened basically just the other week. Last month, was that last month? Yeah, a few months ago, 2 months ago, April, May. Yeah, we're now in June, so a month and a bit. And we pushed higher. Now we're retracing. I don't think we're going to go and retest these lows potentially. I think this is very much a case of we are going to retest fib level. Excuse me. Let me grab my fib tool from there to here. And obviously 50 to 61.8 now. But give me this candle with this imbalance right here. I'll point it out, and that's my first extension right there. Ooh. You can see that 50%, sorry, the 786, 886, lots of imbalances in Intel and whatnot, but this candle right here, this is the area that I want to see retested to potentially give me a nice move up. So I'll probably have an entry set at the entry of that imbalance somewhere there, just above the 786, in case it does get front run, which does happen obviously with larger stocks, because it is a very important level, and an exit of around the 26. So this could be an option play too, which was a bit more expensive, but not crazy expensive, and I do think it will be a nice option. And you can see, let me grab this. If this plays out, once you see them, you cannot unsee them, right? This is this is potentially a beautiful harmonic presenting itself. So this is a bat pattern, 593. So we haven't hit the 618, which will be a Gartley. So we are still in bat territory, and bat territory sometimes can have really deep retracements and really go sometimes just above the 1. So it could end up being something like this. Obviously, this is not a stop loss if you do an option. The only stop that you have is time, where you decide to basically have the time. So I would probably set a few months for this. But can you have a look at BTC USDT versus gold? Let's have a little look-see. Actually, thank you for typing it in, because now I can just simply do a copy and paste, and it saves me from having to do that. All right, let's have a look. This is what Sexy just asked in the chat. This is basically the strength of gold. Sorry, the strength of Bitcoin against gold. So for those of you who don't know, on TradingView, we can basically compare anything by doing the first tickers slash the second tickers. In this case, BTC USDT versus XAU, which is gold USD. So what we can see here is obviously a strength of BTC that has, or you can say outperform gold, but now we're starting to push lower. We'll see where this lands. Like, this is a very interesting chart to watch. It basically kind of tells you the narrative. The problem that I have with this chart, which is not a problem in itself, is basically gold has just been on an absolute tear. So gold has been basically just going like this chart is insane. Very different from a Bitcoin chart even, right? This was all-time high. This is on a weekly. Like, it just, yeah. This thing has been, yeah, up only basically from 2022. Like, no signs of slowing down. So when you compare the two, which is obviously Bitcoin in this case versus gold, what we do see is there's a seasonality to it potentially. So a good experiment to do potentially one day, we might do it on a different live, is checking out the seasonality of gold and see if there is a pattern that plays out for gold versus, or Bitcoin versus gold. But yeah, interesting. Obviously on the weekly, it looks like we are going to push down some of this level potentially, and then maybe go up again. That would be my guess, because obviously we have been pushing high. I don't think we are gonna make a low. I think we would make a higher low here, but it does look like it's pushing down a little bit. Interesting. And ETHBTC by comparison, yeah, similar kind of narrative where if I think we covered this already, but I'll just go through it quickly again. Once you can see big harmonic playing out, is this it for ETHBTC, where the harmonic does end up playing out at the 971? This is once again, this is a bat pattern. I just talked about it. Sometimes they do like to go a little bit lower. In my experience. Up until the 1.05 sometimes. They just wick very quickly. So until that structural integrity gets broken on a daily, which we talked about earlier, so I do need to see this high taken out with some sort of strength, not just a wick, or I need to see a full body coming out, a retest that prints a higher low, and then a continuation higher. In which case, I will look at potentially even swapping some BTC for some ETH and whatnot. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So we do have a live setup on BTC. That looks like, what is it? This is on the hourly. That we might not get, maybe we'll see. This 50 minutes candle is going to be really quite the decider. Big push down. It will be interesting to see on the lower time frame. There's obviously this is what I love seeing about looking at the market. So what's happening right now is a tug of war between sellers and buyers, and who's going to win this tug of war? You can see selling strength, and then there's an attentive selling, it's not strong enough. There's attentive buy, not strong enough, and then eventually the buyers are in control, and now the sellers are going to take control again. So I just love trading. I love watching live trading on lower time frame for that reason. But yeah, you have to be careful on lower time frame because obviously there's a lot of manipulation. And if you actually notice, what we are printing here is an upside down once again harmonic. So if this was an up, this was a down. Lowest closing probably here. So yeah, it will be a bat. So this is a butterfly, which would take us. Let me quickly reverse it and see where this will potentially. This could give us a bit of an indication as to where potentially we'll see. So A2. Oh my gosh, no, that's the wrong one. That's channel one. There. So A2X. So we could potentially, yeah, it kind of lines up because usually this is a butterfly. So past the 786, even if you take this as an anchor point, it's past the 786. So it's a butterfly pattern. If you want to take it from here, and the butterfly takes us between the 127 to the 1414 extension, which will be somewhere here. Obviously, remember we are watching it in reverse, so this will be it. If you were, however, to take this as an entry point below, let's just quickly get rid of that, and this will become now basically a Gartley. So a Gartley could be anywhere here to here. So there is confluence on the lower time frame for potentially a reversal soon. In terms of, obviously, I don't trade just off harmonics, but once again, like Elliott waves, they are just a tool for us to use as confluence. And you can see these levels that we just looked at for harmonics perfectly coincide with those levels that we looked at. So this 50 minutes candle right here, obviously now, where I think we'll see some sort of reaction. Personally, I think it will fail and go lower and come back down here. So live trade on BTC soon, which I bet my house money that is going to happen as Aussies are sleeping. That's always the case. So for us Aussie, which I think is Daza and there's a couple of us. Yeah, there's a couple. We might need to set some limit orders for tonight. That's about it, team. Any questions? It's been good. Sorry I couldn't make last week, team. Sun sick is never fun, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know if you can hear my voice now, I am sick. So it's the case, right? Little one sick, and then you catch it. I'm drinking water tonight, which is not like me. If you're not Aussie. No questions, comments. add-ons. Go sexy. Type. No questions. Clear. All clear. So, yeah. Basically, just wait for BTC to hit lower. I don't feel comfortable in longing from here. Just the risk to reward is not there for me, just yet. And this was my second level for a long, which obviously we didn't get hit, but cool beans. And I'm gonna go and post those calls in and those notes as well about Link and XRP in the chat so that people don't miss out, even though there will be someone that misses out, but at least we'll post them there. So, all right, team, thank you so much for kicking it off with me. Bit of tonight was a makeup call because obviously missed last week, so I'll do 2 this week. I've got today, and then I'll do another one on Wednesday as the usual time. So we still get all the value and the juice, and we can have a look at the market when in a couple of weeks, midweek for us here in Australia, which is always when I like to look at the market, because obviously the first few days of the week it's always shaping. BTC is absolutely dropping as we speak, which is a beautiful thing. Come to my entry. All right, let's go ahead and set those limits, team. I will catch you guys in the chat and girls. Thank you for another live. Ciao.